Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Rebels Compass. I'm here in the studios with a good friend of mine, Sylvie Dupras. Hello.
Hi.
Sylvie's here to talk to us a little bit today about her personal journey that brought her to first of all, experience the shamanic tradition and then venture into becoming a practitioner and a teacher of shamanic tradition. So I want to open up by saying thank you for being here this morning
Thank you for having
and
me.
um, ask you about your journey that brought you to learning and experiencing the shamanic tradition, shamanic way, and what that did for you and helped you.
Yeah, I was brought to shamanism because of illness.
Yeah.
In 2011, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And even though it went really fast, I was diagnosed like on February 15th. I was on the operating table on March 3rd. So there was not a lot of time. But when you're diagnosed, you're on an emotional roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt I needed help, and I met this person that was a shamanic practitioner. So I went for sessions with her, and it helped me, handle the emotional part of the diagnosis. And then this person started giving courses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I started studying shamanism. And I did we were the first group, and I did the whole program. But the way we worked was we would do guided meditation with the clients, and the client would remember the traumatic events because they would be the one telling you what the event was. It would bring some of them to even past life events that were very traumatic, and even though you're healing the event, it's in your head.
You still and you tend to hold on to that in various places of the body, and like you say, still in the mind. It doesn't actually eliminate or erase that.
No, that's it. It's like back in your consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So I discovered that at Spirit Matters in Almont, there's a trainer that comes from Toronto to teach shamanism, and he's based on the School of Foundation for Shamanic Studies.
Okay.
Now, Foundation for Shamanic Studies was created by Michael Harner, who's an anthropologist, and he's basically responsible for bringing shamanism back into the West. And what Michael did is live with different tribes in South America, in Siberia, Mongolia, some in North America. And what he did is that he extracted what was common in the ceremonies, what was common to every tribe.
Okay.
And they created a curriculum called Core Shamanism.
Yes. Okay.
So there are many courses, and I did all the training with the Foundation for Shamanic Studies, and I'm from a scientific background, so I was always asking for proof.
Yes.
And when you study shamanism long enough, you get all the proof that you need that spirit really exists.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to become a teacher because I think that learning shamanism and practicing shamanism gives you spiritual independence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for me, being raised a Roman Catholic, spiritual independence is very important.
So what does that actually mean for you, spiritual independence?
I do not need an intermediary to be able to communicate with spirit.
Yeah.
Creator, God, the universal energy, whatever you want to call it.
You just have a direct line.
It's a path of direct revelation. Mm-hmm. That's what shamanism is. And when I decided that I wanted to teach, I was receiving these newsletters monthly from Sandra Ingerman, which is a very well-known shamanic practitioner and teacher internationally. She's taught in Australia, Europe, and a lot in, of course, the States. And I when I made my decision, I received this newsletter that she's opening up a year later, teacher's training, probably the last one.
Oh, wow.
So I was very excited. And Sandra started practicing shamanism with the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. She was a really good friend of Michael's.
Mm-hmm.
So she actually developed all of their curriculum, except for the last 2 new courses. But all of the curriculum that is still taught, Sandra developed it.
Mm-hmm.
I really resonate with the way she teaches shamanism because I think she brings the feminine energy into it. For me, it's more flexible and more adaptable to the needs of these times. And she's really focused on healing the earth and the water. And so she's developing new courses that include shamanic practices and ceremonies to be able to do that because our planet really needs us right now.
Well, it's a reflection of us with all that chaos and everything that's going on inside of us, and that constantly pushing down emotional experiences and never really addressing it. My feeling is Mother Earth reflects back to us what we feel on the inside and don't take care of.
Mm.
So with the shamanic tradition, what does that actually do? So if I was coming for anybody who's never heard of that, how would you explain that to someone?
Well, again, I think shamanism is a path of direct revelation. So when you take the basic course, for example, you will learn how to communicate with your helping spirits. And your helping spirits are really eager to help, but you need to ask for help. So ask and you shall receive also works in shamanism.
I've actually been to Spirit Matters many years ago when I first moved here. I'd never ever heard of the FSS, so that abbreviation of that. Yeah. And there was a lady who came to Spirit Matters, and I actually went there for the level 1 training. And I was actually blown away with a portion of that training where we went outside and looked for rocks.
Yes, for divination.
Yes. And we look for rocks, and they'll have you look at this rock, and excuse me if I've forgotten some of it because it's been a while. So you look at the rock and you actually really study that rock, and anything that shows itself, reveals itself to you, you write down. Yeah. So I can't remember if at the beginning we had a question.
We did.
Okay, so we had a question, and the rock would reveal what was hidden to anybody who's not looking. And we would write this down, and then we'd give the rock to someone else from what I remember. Or they would experience. It's like I say, it's a long time ago since I've done this, but my thing that I came away with that was how profound the answers were to the question that I'd asked, revealed in this rock. Yes. And I can't remember whether I read the rock or I had the question and somebody else read the rock. I can't remember. So you explain that to me. Okay.
Well, if we go on the rock thing, it's you work with a partner. Your partner has a question. You connect with your helping spirit, because by that time you will have met your helping spirit, and your helping spirit helps you see what's hidden in the rock, and you see the signs there, and then you ask with your helping spirit, well, what does that sign have to do with my partner's question? And it's like automatic writing, really. Yes. You write it down, even if it doesn't make sense to you, that doesn't matter, because when you tell your partner what you found, you can see in their face like, that makes sense. Yes, yeah. Even if it doesn't make sense to you. Yeah. And I think shamanism too, you were talking about the emotions and stuff. In traditional shamanic upbringing, children are taught from the time they can understand that everything that is living has a spirit, to honor it and to respect it. When they would go hunting, take a life, they would honor the animal for and be grateful for that animal to have given their life so that they could live. And it's the same. Like there's a spirit in water, there's spirit in air. All the elements have spirit. Trees have spirit. Rocks have spirits, and we have so much to learn from them. But in our tradition, our parents will humor you until you're 5, 6 years old when you're talking to your invisible friend, and then at one point they'll say, this is enough.
Yes.
The invisible does not exist. Yeah. And so shamanism helps you reconnect with the invisible. In the basic course, people learn how to connect with their helping spirit, their power animal, in what we call the lower world, and a teacher in the upper world. And the way I teach the basic course, I also have people connect with the spirit of an element in the middle world. Yes. And we do a divination, but we don't use a rock. We do something else.
Okay.
Yes.
That's very, very cool. So the upper world, you take them up.
Yeah.
The lower worlds, you go below. Now, that's not to create fear in anybody at all, because when I did that on this course, they took us to, or asked us to go to a place that meant something to us. Now, for me, at that time, was my back garden. And I could go into my back garden and delved into the lower worlds. Now, for me, my family know I love lions. I expected a lion to show up for me because lions, there's something very, very powerful and majestic that I love about lions. Only a lion didn't show up, a mouse showed up, and I did not want the mouse until I went to read what the mouse meant.
Yes.
So if we're talking about power animals and that kind of thing, can you explain to people what that actually means and how they can gain wisdom from that?
So when we go, and I'd like to say something about the lower world, yes, because being raised a Catholic again,
yes,
some people think, the lower world is hell, yes, and the upper world is paradise. I always say they should have called it the left world and the right world, but they called it the lower world. They're both beautiful places where benevolent spirit exists, yes, and are there to help you. Usually, spirit exists in both animal and human form in both worlds, but usually when we go to gain or meet our power animal, it's usually in the lower world. Mm-hmm. And so a power animal, somebody that, feels powerless or is depressed all the time or has bad luck repeatedly, might have lost their power. And we'll talk about it later, what a shaman does, but it's one of the healing that a shaman can do is retrieve a power animal for somebody. Mm-hmm. But when you take the course, you learn to do that on your own. Okay. And a power animal has been with you all your life. It's like a guardian angel in the other tradition. Yes. But it's a power animal. And every animal has its power. They all bring their gifts. They all bring their their abilities. They are there to help you. And you got the animal that was there to help you the most. And it's not an animal, a power animal will actually appear to you as having a personality, but you don't have for example, a wolf. You have the wolf species behind you, mm-hmm, or the mouse species behind you. And actually, Sandra says to never go read in a book what the animal means.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, this one had attitude.
There you go.
This one had attitude, and I thought it was funny because I actually remembered a cartoon that I'd seen. But I felt the disappointment at mm-hmm. first, that instant feeling, because I had expected a lion to show up, because that was in this world, the middle world, yes, was meant something to me. So when I went into the lower worlds and this mouse with attitude, in fact, the only way I can liken this mouse right now is if you've seen The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You know the mouse?
Well, I've read the book.
The mouse in The Lion and Witch in the Wardrobe, he has a sword and he's got attitude. This mouse had attitude. And I don't remember whether I'd seen that movie at the time, but this one had attitude. But I felt the disappointment at that instant on a mouse showing up. And it's also comes back to what we believe is important and what we think is insignificant.
Mm-hmm.
So that made me look at that too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because this mouse came with a tremendous amount of gifts. But for that split second, to me, that was insignificant until I went and looked deeper into that.
Yes.
So,
and it doesn't mean that lion is not one of your power animals, because you might have many power animals. You have your main power animal that has been with you since you were born and will be with you all your life. But you have power animals that come in and out of your life for a certain period of time to help you with a specific situation and things like that. So maybe you had a lion come in at one time in your life and you didn't know it.
yeah.
But they're all, in reality, spirit has no form.
No.
And they appear to us in a form so that we can relate to them.
Mm-hmm.
But spirit has no form. So
yeah.
It was a lesson too that it appears at a mouse.
It was a massive lesson to me. It was a massive lesson to me in many ways, because at the time, the message that I did go and read was very significant to me. But it also made me look at what I believed was powerful and what wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And just because this was a small mouse that showed up, it has its power, it has its abilities, it has its gifts. It can get in and out of places that a lion can't, because a lion's massive. But it made me look deeper into me and the labels I give things, or gave things at the time, because this is now probably 15 years ago that I did this. And how we judge things based on how something looks.
Mm-hmm.
So my instant, it's a mouse, but afterwards it's like I took this on and owned it, but it certainly makes you look at things very differently.
Yeah, it does. And I've been telling, practitioners, do not retrieve a power animal for someone just because they're curious to know what their power animal is.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility to have a power animal. You need to build a relationship. So what Sandra means by not reading what somebody else thinks that the animal means is you journey back to your power animal and ask it, why are you in my life? What gifts are you bringing to me? How are you going to help me? And, how do you want me to communicate with you? How will you communicate with me? There's so many things. You build a relationship like you build when you meet somebody that you want to be friends with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I was coming to you to have that done, so I was feeling lost or disconnected or whatever words you chose earlier, and I'm looking to find some answers within me.
Mm-hmm.
So would you do a power animal journey? How would that? So first of all, is there a difference between traditional shamanism and what you currently do now?
Traditional?
Yeah.
No, what I currently do now is traditional. Yes.
Okay, so if I was coming to you because I feel lost and disconnected, and there's quite a few people that I speak to right now that are,
yes,
they feel completely lost, they feel completely disconnected, they have no idea which direction to go, so they do nothing.
Yeah.
So if I'm experiencing that and I come to you and say, Sylvie, I am completely lost. I have no clue my direction. I don't know. I just have no answers.
Okay, I will explain what a shaman does.
Yes, please do.
So a shaman, first of all, a person never calls himself or herself a shaman.
Mm-hmm.
We are a shamanic practitioner. The community will call you a shaman after they have seen that you are really connected to your spirit and that what you do as good results.
Okay.
So shaman, but I'll use the word shaman. The shaman does two things: divination and healing. So divination would be somebody comes with a question, and there's many ways to do divination, and we talked about the rock divination, but you can go to your helping spirit to have a question answered as well. And so back in the days, the shaman would journey to find out where the earth was, because if they didn't if we didn't figure out where they were, the whole community would go hungry. So that's called divination.
Okay.
Then there's the healing part. And there's 3 main ceremonies that are done for healing. There's power animal retrieval, there's what we call extraction, and there's soul retrieval. So soul retrieval is the belief that throughout your life there can be soul loss, and it mainly happens when you're young because of a traumatic experience, or it doesn't even have to be traumatic. Maybe something happened that your 2.5-year-old self could not make sense of or did not understand, and a part of their soul left to protect itself. Okay. The shamanic practitioner will help bring back that lost soul part. And so when somebody comes to me for a healing treatment, I'm not the one who decides what to do. I do a divination journey to my helping spirit. And first of all, I ask, am I the person appropriate to help this person?
Okay.
So if the answer is yes, then I will ask, spirit knows everything, but I will say what the client came with, what they said. And it's the helping spirit that will tell me what ceremony to do.
Okay.
And so a shaman really, or a shamanic practitioner, is what you can see it as a hollow bone, because when someone comes and I do a healing, I do nothing. I just open myself up to the power of my helping spirits, and it's the helping spirit's power that does the healing. You really have to put your ego aside. You're not there. It's the helping spirit that will do the healing, and and it's them who decide what ceremony to do.
Okay. So when I come to you for this session, you've already determined that you are the right person. Now, if have you ever had where that your guiding spirits have said no, that you're not the right?
I have.
So what would you do in that case? Do you direct them somewhere else, or what's the follow-up for that?
If I don't know anybody in my vicinity, I can direct them to, Sandra's website as shamanic practitioners on it, or even the Foundation for Shamanic Study have practitioners on their website. Now I like the way Sandra works, so I go there first.
Yeah.
But I would... It did happen. It doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
But it did happen.
So when I come to you and we've determined that you are the right person to work with me, do we then have conversation first? Have you already done a journey beforehand? How does that work?
I usually do the journey beforehand to find out which ceremony to do.
Yeah.
Which would be power animal retrieval, extraction, or soul retrieval.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I will open circle, because I open sacred circle before working, where I call in my helping spirit, the helping spirit of the person that's there, even though they might not know who they are. Mm-hmm. And then I explain what the ceremony will be about, and usually the person lies on the floor, and I do the ceremony.
And how long does this ceremony normally last?
I would say it lasts between 45 and 60 minutes.
Okay.
It depends.
And so when you've done that for me, when I come to you and I have this ceremony, do I then go away with things that I have to do, or be mindful that may be experienced, or what's the process? Can you have... There
is, except for extraction, where, sometimes when people are angry at you, or you have the defeating internal dialogue, there might be, like, I would say, I don't want to say negative energy, but lower vibration energy, and that's what we extract from the person's energy field. Okay. And in that case, we bless some water. Our helping spirit bless the water, and they drink it, and so it fills the space left by the extraction. So there's not really homework to do in the case of the extraction ceremony, but in the case of the power animal and in the case of the soul retrieval extraction, there is usually homework to do. Well, in the case of the power animal, connecting, talking to it, drawing an image or building a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of soul retrieval, my helping spirit will tell me what the homework is.
Okay. Now, for me, when the mouse showed up,
yes,
I actually connected with that brought in resourcefulness. That it brings in that ability to, for me, whatever I have at hand, I can turn it, make it work for me. I can make a home out of anything. It doesn't have to be this, it can be this. That when something comes in, I have the ability to look at that and create it into something that works for me. So that's actually what the mouse brought in for me at that time, that resourcefulness and that ability to create something out of what other people may seemingly think was nothing.
Yeah.
So that was what the mouse brought in at the time.
Amazing.
I know. And it wasn't a lion. It was just like, that was the mouse. And I've had a session with you. I've had more than one session with you. And I think one of the most profound sessions I had with you is when I moved to where I currently live right now. So when I moved almost 3 years ago, I think now, I spent 3 months crying. I lived there. I felt like I had been yanked out of one space and plopped, a bit like a tree. A tree grows its roots in one place and it feels safe and secure, and all of a sudden I was ripped out and plonked somewhere else and expected my roots to grow, but I didn't feel like that. I woke up crying, I went to bed crying, I'd cry in my car, and it was like, okay, this is ridiculous. So I had a really profound experience when you did a soul retrieval for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me probably a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks to process different things that came up for me after that. Mm-hmm. But I had a vision. I don't know if you remember that time.
I remember being there, but I don't remember the vision.
So the vision for me didn't make any sense at that moment in time, but it did directly afterwards. So as Sylvie was performing this ceremony and this soul retrieval for me, because I felt so disconnected and lost, I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. I actually saw myself as a 6-year-old little girl, and I was covered with a bearskin. And that's all I saw. I was underneath this bear. And when the bearskin was removed and I walked out of what was a tent or something that I couldn't describe at the time, everything around me had been slaughtered and I was the only one still there. And I had this deep feeling and knowing.
Yes.
Do you remember it now?
That. Oh, yes.
This deep feeling and knowing that my mom had covered me with this bearskin and told me to be quiet and not to move. Now, in this life, growing up, my mom had a fur coat hung in her closet. And the only way I felt safe and secure as a young child, because a kid didn't sleep, I was a pain to my parents because I just wouldn't sleep all the time. The only time I felt safe was when I put the fur against my skin and it made me feel secure. That connected those dots because that was something I could never understand why I only felt secure when I had this feeling of fur against my skin. But what that process did was made me feel connected back to me, not to the location, but connected back to me.
Yes.
So
and it's actually unusual that somebody would have such a profound vision during a ceremony. Mm-hmm. You're very sensitive.
Yes, yeah.
So, and actually, now that I'm working with Sandra, when I do soul retrieval, it's a bit different because when I did the soul retrieval for you, when you woke up or when you open your eyes, in the FSS way, we only tell the person it is done,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now I find that the other way, we'd have to try it on something else to see if you see a difference.
I don't know. I've not got anything come up just recently, but that was profound for me because
Yeah.
it was like a 5 second dream,
Yes.
vision, whatever. It wasn't very long, but it was complete.
It's because spirit gave you what you needed.
Yeah, but it really did, really did
Yeah.
make a difference. It really
Yeah,
did.
because in those days I did not give you a homework for that.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, so now what we do is that our helping spirit will tell us the essence of the piece that is coming back and an image of it,
Mm-hmm.
which is really healing. And then there would have been a homework. So I don't know what homework would have been if I had done it like that
Yeah, I
back
don't
then, but
know.
it's still, the basic of it is still the same. So you got the healing that you
I did, and
needed.
it stopped me from waking up every morning crying.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just a journey after that, of going through the feeling or going through the emotion. But the initial bawling my eyes out every day and feeling like I didn't even cry that much when I moved from England to Canada. I felt lost, because it was a strange country and very, very different. But I didn't cry like I did when I moved from where I was living to where I currently live.
Yeah.
Like I would call a friend bawling my eyes out in the car going, I can't go back home. I don't know. I just didn't. It was so strong.
Mm.
And yet having that experience with you connected something that I guess, I don't know whether it made me understand what I was feeling, that I'd been yanked out and replanted somewhere else. I don't know, but it certainly changed things within me.
I would say that the vision you had was the reason why you lost that piece that came
Mhm.
back. If you think about it, it was pretty traumatic.
Yes. Yeah.
In another lifetime.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then it comes back and just settles in, and you feel whole.
Mm-hmm. You do. You do. And I've moved lots in my lifetime. My friends joke that they write my address in pencil so they can erase it because every 3 years I used to move. And like say, moving from England to Canada, I never had that experience until I moved to this place, and then it was just boom, it was there.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to have people like yourself, with the training, because it's long training, isn't it, that you do?
I've been doing this for 8 years now.
Yeah, it's not something you go on a weekend course for and all of a sudden you have this.
Yeah.
This is a commitment. It's
a life path.
It's a life path.
Yeah.
Yes, that you're constantly learning and sharing and expanding and growing. So I know you've traveled to do the training that you currently do.
Yes, mainly to the States.
Mm-hmm.
So FSS has 9 weekend workshops that I all took at Spirit Matters in Almont, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But then they have a 2-week intensive that I took in Virginia and a 3-year program where you meet twice a year for 3 years that I took in California.
Mm-hmm.
And with Sandra, with the teacher's training, it's a 2-year training, 4 meetings in Sedona in Arizona.
That's hard.
I know.
Going to Sedona, that's hard.
So I try to go a week early just because.
Don't blame you. It's a place I'd really like to go.
So yes, and I have to say that shamanic healing is a healing on a spiritual level.
Mm-hmm.
But healing on a spiritual level can have impacts on your emotional level and on your physical level.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, miracles can happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you know something or have that deep sense of knowing on a spiritual level, it makes you understand on a physical level so that you can then move and shift whichever direction. It gives you that different level of understanding, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go, okay, that makes sense to me. So now I'm going to go left or go right or.
And because I believe that I don't know if I should use the word every, but most of your physical ailments come from an emotional balance.
Mhm.
So going from spiritual to emotional, that's a small step for me.
Yes.
So when you heal on the spiritual level, see how you with the soul retrieval, how you really quickly heal the emotional
Yes, very quickly.
level, and then that can have an impact on your physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I went for 3 months like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you came and did that session at my home.
Yeah.
And then the following day, I woke up feeling like I'd been beaten up, and like a limp lettuce leaf, I guess is the expression I would use. But the day after that, I felt good.
Yeah, integration.
Yes. And then the day after that, I felt better. And the day after that. So by the end of the week, it was like, this is a past memory now. And I'm not crying every day. And, you know, in that state of turmoil that I felt like I was in.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned earlier the hollow bone.
Yes.
So can you explain a little bit more about the hollow bone, and is there a way to describe that?
It's just that when you prepare yourself for the ceremonies, you really have to, like in the basic course that I give people, I tell them when you want to journey to your helping spirit, you really have to leave your day behind.
Mm-hmm.
You have to leave your worries behind, your planning the future behind, and your ego out of the way. Because I want a lion, and yay, I got a lion. But that's the ego, you know. And so spirit likes to surprise us.
Yes.
And so there's different things to get into that space. You know, just by lighting a candle, I'm telling my consciousness, oh, I'm about to do something sacred here.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to journey to the upper middle or upper world, well, there's different ways to do it. A lot of people, young people, know about ayahuasca these days, which is the way the Peruvian shamans journey.
Yes.
And they take plant medicine. But the way I do it is through sound, percussion. So a hand drum or rattle that has to be played at a certain rhythm
Mm-hmm.
to change your brain waves. So I never remember what in the awakening state right now we're in theta, and then we go into different ones until you get
Beta
to
and alpha.
okay, so beta, you start in beta, and then in alpha is where you journey.
Yeah.
So there's CDs of drumming, or you can drum for yourself. Or another difference between FSS and Sandra that really helped me is that FSS shows you to lie down to journey, and if you look at shamans around the world, I don't know of any shamans that lie down to journey.
Yes.
They sing and dance and drum, some of them for hours to get themselves into that space when they have to do a healing for somebody, because you really have to not be there. It's hard to explain because you're letting your helping spirit come through, their energy come through. And so you have to really shut up your brain.
Yeah.
and just let the energy flow. I guess I don't know if it's like that in Reiki or, but you really have to. That's why the metaphor of the hollow bone. You're just the conduit.
Yeah. I know it was like that when I first started hearing light language. I would hear it in the back of my head, and it would run, and I'd try and copy the sounds and the vibrations and the language that I heard in the back of my head, until I was driving one day, excuse me, where I heard, just let go, you know, just switch your brain off and let go. And it wasn't until I got out of my head that I was then able to speak it. And but it's the brain wants to carbon copy and have an answer.
It's difficult to let go because in our society, it's the ego that drives everything.
Yes, it is.
And so it's difficult to let go. It's when people start learn how to journey, I tell them, imagine doing it. And so they come out of their journey and they said, oh, I imagined it all.
Yes.
And so, okay, You imagined it, but you could have been thinking about 100 different things, but you thought about that one.
Yeah.
And then Sandra says, when I'm battling, starting to journey down or up, and my mind is telling me up. That's all in your imagination. Instead of arguing with your mind, yeah, you're right. It's all my imagination, and you continue.
Yes.
Eventually, you realize that as you do it, it might start in your imagination, but there's a switch at one point where, whoa, things happen, or you see things or hear things. Actually, when people journey, there's different experiences.
Yes.
Some people will see it like in Technicolor. They describe it. It's like they're seeing a movie on a movie screen. Some people, and it happened to a student of mine just when I gave a course last month, she said, well, I don't see anything. And she was disappointed, expectations.
Yeah.
But she could feel the fur of her power animal under her hand. How amazing.
Yeah.
Because I've never felt that.
Yeah.
Everybody experiences in a different way. Me, it's a knowing.
Yes.
I don't see and I don't really hear, but I know. I ask a question and the answer just comes.
Yeah. So you see, feel, sense, know.
Yes.
One of those or all of them?
They say that the one that is the least used in regular reality is the one that will be the most enhanced in journeying. But the practice is to bring all of your senses into the journey. It doesn't start like that usually, but you should practice to bring all of your senses. So to come back to not lying down, I teach my students to sit up and rattle for themselves, or when they're alone at their house and wanting to journey, to just stand up and drum for themselves, because that's the way. It's one way to occupy your mind so that you can do something else.
Yes, yeah. Because once the mind's busy,
yes,
the rest of you can journey and experience so many other things.
And often I've known people fall asleep when they lie down to journey.
Yes.
So that defeats the purpose.
Yeah, it's the same with meditation. You can fall asleep if you're, depending on the type of meditation, you can fall asleep and be the only one snoring in a room.
Usually I have someone that does that.
Yeah, it wakes you up. So you now teach?
Yes, I've started teaching. I'm very excited because I really want to teach people to have spiritual independence and being able to do it on their own. So right now I'm only teaching a basic course to teach, only a basic course. It's the foundation.
The foundation, yeah.
Yeah, and so in the basic course, you will learn how to journey to the lower world and meet your power animal. You will learn to journey to the upper world and meet what we call in the upper world a teacher. And then I like to journey to the middle world to meet the spirit of an element.
Okay.
And these days it's water, because there's a lot of water around us. So we meet the spirit of water. And we, if time permits, we do a divination, but we don't do it with an object. I like to do it with a question with a partner, and you journey to your helping spirit, either your power animal or your teacher. You decide where you want to go, and ask them the question and get the answer from them. And then they come back, and very important to not interpret what the answer you get, because it means something to the person, not to you.
And that's good to have people you don't know that you partner up with, because very often when you know somebody, you're already interpreting what you think you know.
But what I do in my courses, I have everybody write their name on a piece of paper, and I put it in my drum, and spirit decides who works with who.
Okay.
Yes.
That's very cool. And where are you teaching again?
I'm teaching at Spirit Matters, actually, in Almont. My next course is coming up in 2 weeks, June 8th and 9th.
Okay, so we will put the details up after this for Spirit Matters in Almont, where you can find the information, should you be interested in doing the foundation of this? And I know it's really supported and helped me throughout my journey here in Canada. I didn't know anything about this when I lived in the UK. I was always connected to the earth, but never really until I moved to a country where you're more connected through your traditional native people, and see that more frequently, that I really started to understand certain parts of that and wanted to know more, wanted to know about that tradition, if you like. So to have that foundation takes you off in many different directions.
And I think that learning shamanism reconnects you to nature.
Yeah.
Because first of all, you realize that everything that's living around you as a spirit, you can communicate with those spirits. Like, when we do a journey to the middle world, we don't have to go and communicate with the spirit of an element. We can go and communicate and meet the spirit of a tree, or meet the spirit of a flower.
Yeah.
And so and I think you become more respectful and more aware and in tune with the earth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've so disconnected ourselves from Mother Earth, from this living being that we walk upon. We've so disconnected ourselves from that. The more we spend time on technology and watching TV and all of that, and not spending time outside, putting your feet on the ground and really connecting with the earth. So for me, it's a big thing to come back to that sacred space of Mother Earth and give thanks for what she's given us and continues to give us.
It's
day.
essential that we come back to that, because the earth does not need us.
No, we need her.
But we need her, and boy, oh boy, have we not been good.
Yeah.
So it's essential that we come back to that if we want our species to survive. That I believe that the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. So the next training that you have, what date did you say that was?
8th and 9th of June. And I'm hoping to have a third one in September. I think it's 7 and 8, the weekend following the long weekend in September. But in September, I'm hoping to hold it at Eco Wellness. I haven't told them yet, so
so don't tell them.
I have to communicate with them, but that's what I'm thinking, because Spirit Matters will not be available. And after the basic, I wanted to make a course that I want to call "I've Learned to Journey, Now What?"
Yes.
Because, people learn the basic, going to their power animal, going to their teacher, but there is so many types of advanced journeys you can do in either world that I would like to introduce that, so that people really get a good idea of what you can do with this technique.
Yeah, and so many of us, I've done it myself in the past. I've gone for a weekend course. This is amazing. Come away feeling plugged in and ready to go. And as your life goes on, you forget that teaching. It's still in there, but you don't use the practice. You don't incorporate it into your daily life. So that's a really powerful thing to be able to offer, so that anybody who is wanting to have that integrated into their daily life and see the benefits of that.
Yes, and actually, in the basic course, you learn how to retrieve a power animal for somebody else.
Okay.
Although I tell my students, don't do it just because they're curious.
Yes.
And at Spirit Matters, once a month, I forget which Friday now. I think it's the first Friday of the month. Once you take the course, if you are willing to have your email given to the person who organizes it, then I send it to them, and you receive an email once a month to let you know when the next journey night here is. So it's usually the first Friday of the month, and we meet from 7 to 9, a group of us at Spirit Matters, and we talk about what we'd like to journey on. Sometimes we do individual journeying. Sometimes we do a group journey, which we talk about a question that is in everybody's mind, usually around the environment or something like
Mhm.
that. And then everybody journeys on their own, the same question. And when we come back and compare and share, shouldn't say compare, but share what we got, we all got different message, but usually it all means the same thing. And that is a really good confirmation
Yes.
that it's not all in your imagination.
Yeah.
That you're really connected to spirit.
Yeah. So you coming from that scientific
Mhm.
background and wanting to know, I need the proof.
Yeah.
How long did it actually take you before you believed?
Oh, it took me, I would say 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was getting little proofs from spirit, and when I would get it, I would recognize it as a proof. But I wanted another one
Mm-hmm.
until I got the physical proof, and that happens in the 3-year program where there's a ceremony that you do and you get the physical. There's no
questioning.
questioning it. So yeah, it's
Yeah. So any of you that are on this journey
yeah.
that keep getting the little signs,
Yes.
you're getting signs.
Yeah. And living in the present,
Yeah.
like if you have a question, even if you're not practicing shamanism,
Mm-hmm.
you have a question and you go out in nature and be present to what you're doing, to the signs that a tree will, you just noticed that leaf fell, or you hear a certain type of bird sing and it's repeated a certain number of times, or you come across something, you can figure out that spirit is talking to you all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's one thing that I love about native original people that live that way of the earth and see those signs that we've long since forgotten. We've long since put to the back, that doesn't mean anything. Oh, great, so a bird singing, or
because we don't live in the moment.
Yeah.
We live in the past or we live in the future.
Yeah.
And it's rare to meet somebody that really lives in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I was so not in the moment all my life. Sometimes my cousins will say, remember when we were young, we did this and that. Oh, no, I wasn't there. Oh, yeah, you were there. But I was not there because I was always planning for something or thinking about the past. And it takes work to live in the moment.
It does, because we all do that. We all live a year from now, a week from now, a month from now, 5 years from now, 10 years on what happened 5 years ago, or we do that. That's why when we go and do journey work or meditation or anything like that everything piles in all at once and is fighting for a position to be remembered. So you either remember it or you're planning, like you said, for the future and never really experience the right now.
And there's only now.
There is only now.
When I think about things in the past and this could have been different, and now I stop myself and I say, hey, in this moment, everything is perfect.
Yeah. And the thing with going into the past, it's only based on the knowledge that you had and the vantage point you were at that time. It's not necessarily the truth or the whole truth.
No.
It's just your portion of the truth that you may have embellished in a certain way, and you think it's true to you.
And sometimes you don't have the tools to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
I did a journey last Thursday where I was asking a question of how to heal something that I'm doing that I want to change. And it took me back to an event when I was 2.5 years old.
Okay.
But an event that I did not have the tools to understand. And so I misinterpreted it completely.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I can, heal that part and, hey, you were not, let's say, abandoned. You were safe. You were placed in a safe place.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's very cool. It's I love this kind of experience because it gives you tools.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you answers that someone might say, oh, that's just your imagination. But at the end of the day, if that gives you tools to be able to empower yourself,
Yeah.
to move forward, empowered and positive, does it really matter?
Yeah, that's what Sandra says, you know. You can think it's your imagination, but look at the results that the guidance you receive as in your life. Are the results positive?
Yeah.
Are they making a change in your life? What does it matter?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's only what we think we see or think we hear.
Yes.
At any given moment.
We do interpret a lot,
yes,
don't we?
We do. We do.
Well,
that's why it's good to have friends who go, that didn't happen. I don't remember that. So I'm going to ask Ben later to put Spirit Matters website up.
Okay.
So your dates will be on there.
I'm not sure if Julie put them on, but it's if you have a link to my webpage, Hallowed Vibrations, on not webpage but Facebook page, Hallowed Vibrations.
Mm-hmm.
The poster is on there, and yeah, you'll have my email address and my cell phone where you can text me, and I can send you all the information that you need.
Excellent.
About registration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any of you that are in that space right now where you feel lost, where you feel lack of motivation, where you just don't know, it's a place to start. Believe me, it is a place to start. I highly recommend going to Sylvie. She has many years of knowledge and experience from the training that she's done, and I can personally vouch for some of the journeys I have experienced with you. So we will post Sylvie's information up directly after this so that you can contact her. And please feel free to ask her questions, send her messages underneath the video or the picture, and ask questions. If you're not sure, ask. Because it may not be what you think it is. And you may actually find something deep within yourself that gives you an answer that you've been struggling with your whole life that you really don't need to struggle with anymore. So thank you, Sylvie, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been amazing to a window into this. And I'd love for you to come back and share more as you do your teachings and share that knowledge with everybody, because we certainly in many, many areas of our lives. Again, I want to thank Vocal House Studio for being here for us today, and I hope you have a splendid weekend. Take note of animals that show up frequently in your life, and just be aware. Be aware of the day, experience the day, and try not to spend too much time planning the future or looking back into the past. So have an amazing day, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.
Thank you.